Welcome to the Education USA Canada Frost Belt Showcase. I am wearing my beautiful holiday sweater in theme for today. I've themed it the Frost Belt because all of the schools that are participating today are in the northern part of the United States, not too far over the border. So not only are they in the cooler part of the US, but they could also be called friendly neighbors to the South showcase today. So most of these universities might even be in driving distance of your home. So what is Education USA? Let's get started with that. First and foremost, Education USA is funded by the US Department of State. I help students with their applications to US universities and with admissions information. So I can do that through one-on-one advising, group workshops, newsletter. I have really great social media stuff going on Instagram. I do student spotlights and live events on Tuesdays. On first Wednesdays on Facebook, I do some sort of admissions talk. Yesterday, I talked about virtual tips for interviews, and then webinars like this. And I, of course, have a website, educationusacanada.ca. And I will, throughout this particular session, we are going to have some different pop-ups that come up. So for example, I have Instagram, and so you should definitely check that out. I'm going to pop that up right now. So like I said, you can follow on Instagram. We have a lot of really good information there. And you can see anytime I do a pop-up in the upper right-hand corner, you can hit an X to close it if you don't want to click on it, or you can click on it and go to that web page. All right. Here's today's agenda. So like I said, I'll spend the first 30 minutes talking about how to choose a major. And really this topic is it's not just the choosing the major part, but it's really about the structure of the university, kind of what majors are, how they work in universities in the United States. And so we can have also a discussion around, what kind of department or school or what have you might choose as part of your major. So like I said in the chat, do feel free to kind of shout out some of the things that you might be interested in studying. I always like interacting with the folks in the chat and to talk a little bit more about your interests. Then we're going to have 7 different universities from across the Frost Belt. As you can see, we've got some amazing schools that are joining us today, all from different states, who have some really fabulous programs they're going to talk to you about. So let's get into my talk about choosing a major. So basically, this talk is going to be kind of in comparison to, I'm going to draw a lot of comparisons with Canadian universities as much as I can. I would say that I don't know as detailed, like at this definition page, I wouldn't know necessarily all the detailed information for all Canadian universities as comparable, but structurally we'll make some comparisons here. So majors. First of all, what is a major? Typically a major, when you get your degree from a university, it is the thing that's listed on there that you are getting your degree in. It would be at a 4-year university, that would be a bachelor's degree. And your major is something that you typically have to receive 60 units in that area in order to complete the major. And those 60 units, there's oftentimes some required classes you would need to take, but within that you might have some flexibility to take kind of electives or different kinds of courses based on your interests. So you might do what's called a concentration within your major. So the word concentration is usually an area of focus within a major, and it may require anywhere between 15 to say 30 units. I just kind of ballparked it. Every university is going to be different on what they would require for a concentration. So for me, I'm going to talk about some of my majors because they're all over. One of my majors is history. And in history, you can concentrate in 5 or 6 different areas. And so my main concentration was US history. And in order to have that concentration, I think I had to take like 5 classes in US history, but you could even have a secondary concentration. And at the secondary concentration, you had to take 3 or 4 classes. So it really depends major to major, how many units you would need for a concentration. A concentration doesn't tend to be written on your degree, but it's something that you could include in your resume, for example. A minor is usually around 30 units. So 30 units, you can see is half the time as a major. And so it takes, you can complete a major in just a couple of years, typically, and that also usually goes on your diploma. And it's different from a certificate. A certificate, while it might also be like a 30 units type of thing, usually tends to be in a more specialized area. So you might minor in something like psychology or biology or art, whereas a certificate might be in something much more particular, like digital marketing. So like it's a little more skills based than a more theoretical field. And then you might also hear the term post-bac or post-baccalaureate. So these are kind of like, these are oftentimes a certificate. So basically, if you finish your 4-year university degree, you might then decide that you want to specialize in something that you didn't go to school for. And instead of having to take an entire other 4-year bachelor's degree, you can do a post-baccalaureate degree. And that can be to do some sort of certification to really gain a new skill, or it can be to kind of upgrade in a way. Most of the people that I know who did post-bacs were folks who decided, oh, I did 4 years of school, but now I'd like to do nursing. And I just realized I didn't take enough science credits to apply for a nursing program. So I'm going to need to do a post-bac in order to get my science credits that I need to be able to apply for that program. And you don't have to do a whole additional undergraduate degree, just that. So that's another phrasing you might hear, and that's usually something you don't think about as you're going into university. That might be something you do on the other end. And I love that people are starting to say some of the majors they're interested in. This is great. So we've got Mary Laurence is interested in business, Michaela, kinesiology, Mohammed, civil engineering, fabulous, Danielle's thinking environmental sciences, and Mabel's maybe thinking political sciences or economics. Fabulous, really nice spread of majors here. Fabulous. And Eleanor's saying maybe physio or pediatric studies. Amazing. Okay, so here's some more information around graduating and how many units you need. So most universities require to be full-time, you need to take at least 12 units per semester. And so to be on track to graduate, that usually means that you should take around 15. So even though it's 12 to be full-time, you should usually be around 15. And then if you do that, you would be right on track to get your 120 units to graduate, which tends to be what you need. Again, school to school, it might be different, particularly if they are not a semestered school, but a quartered school, or if they have co-op programs or something like that, it might alter the number of units you need. So with that 120 units, that usually gives space for a major, 60 units, and a minor, 30 units. You can see that takes up 90, so there's still space for 30 more potentially. But a lot of schools will require some sort of liberal arts requirements. You might need to take a certain number of English composition or foreign language classes to go towards graduation. If you're studying in the sciences, you might also need to take a few humanities or social sciences courses, or vice versa. So just bear in mind that each school is different on what they might require there, and that you might have additional courses outside of your major or minor that you would be required to take. If you are very thrifty with your coursework, you could give yourself space to double major. I am a rare bird. I actually did double major and a minor. Now, I did stay in school a little bit longer to get that accomplished. That's a little bit of a weird one to have that many things on your diploma. But if you really want to take a lot of classes, you could even make space for that. So where do the majors live in the university? Okay, so we have the university, which in the United States can be called a university. It can sometimes also be called a college. Okay, so just know that smaller schools, and we have, you'll see our first school up today is Dickinson College. It's a 4-year university, okay? So sometimes that's what it's called. Oftentimes, if it is called a college, it's usually not having additional colleges within the college. I know that sounds confusing, but that's okay. Basically, it's a smaller school, okay? So a university within it, they might have schools or colleges. They might use either word. And some common schools or colleges are the College of Arts and Sciences, or the School or College of Business, or a College of Engineering, School of Nursing, School of Performing Arts, okay? So these are spaces that have a large collection of majors that are related to one another and can support each other with their resources. So something like performing arts, of course, right? Like the art space would all be potentially a shared space, a theater, for example. Or nursing, you're going to be using resources like a clinic and particular instruments and spaces that you would need to practice for your field. So these are the kinds of schools or colleges you might encounter. From there, there's departments that make up a school or a college. So oftentimes a department could be something like psychology or English or mathematics or ethnic studies or computer science. You know, there's a lot of different kinds of departments out there. Usually within a department, you'll have multiple majors related to that field of study, but not always. You could have a department of psychology and then the major could be simply psychology, or it could be a department of psychology and they might have cognitive psychology or early childhood psychology. They may have a few different options for their majors. So sometimes there's majors that can live in different schools or colleges depending on where you're looking. So a really good example is something like computer science. Where does computer science live? Well, in some universities, it could live in the College of Engineering, and in some universities, it might be in the College of Arts and Sciences. It just depends on whether or not the school has an engineering department and if their computer science coursework is more engineering focused. If it's more engineering focused, it might have some different requirements, a lot more math science requirements. Whereas if it lives in a College of Arts and Sciences, you might have more of those liberal arts requirements like I was talking about before. So depending on the kind of student you are and the thing that you're interested in, if you're like, I just want to do computers all the time, just math, science, maybe an engineering school might focus that a little bit more for you. Or if you're like, oh, I'd really like a chance to minor. I'd like to have more liberal arts requirements options available to me, then a school where it's in the arts and sciences might be a better fit. Now, even within the College of Arts and Sciences, you might find that your computer science courses is in a computer science department, or it could be grouped into a larger department, something like a communication and technology department, which just means that the resources might be different or the kinds of coursework you take might be different. If your computer science classes are with a communications department, it might mean that you might have some more kind of more communication related coursework that you might need to take. So these are all things to bear in mind as you're looking into your field. So I just looked at some of the other fields people are interested in. So let's take something like, human kinetics is a great one because human kinetics can mean a lot of different things. So some universities might have a school of health sciences, and you might find kinetics in that particular area. Or if it's a larger, if it's a university that mostly just has arts and sciences as their undergraduate. It could just be in a general sciences, arts and sciences department. Or human kinetics can sometimes be related to education. So if you're interested in maybe becoming an educator in physical education, it might be in an education department, or it might have its own school all to itself if it's a university that has a large kinetics program. So you'll see as you start researching that your major could be in a lot of different areas, and that's going to dictate a little bit what kind of resources it has and also what kind of requirements you would be expected to take once you're in that school. So how is this different between the US and Canada? So this is one of the really, really big differences, and something that I talk to students about as they're applying for universities. So in Canada, you're typically applying into the department. So think back to what I just showed you, right, of the university, college, department, major. So in Canada, you usually apply into a department, whereas in the United States, you are applying into either the university, or if it's a really specialized school like engineering, you're applying into the school within the university, but you're never applying directly into a department. So what that means is, in Canada, one thing that's really different is when you apply into a department, the department might have some very specific classes that you might need to take. An example that I've been given before is, for example, if you want to do business, you have to take the vectors class in Ontario, and it has a very specific course code. And if you didn't take that class, then unfortunately, for most universities, you can't actually even apply into the business program. In the United States, because you're applying into the university or something a little bit higher level, there's usually not so specialized of requirements of very specific courses. The only time you might see that is like an engineering school might require up to calculus in math. So you might see like a base level math that's required, but other than that, you don't tend to see very specific requirements. And they're usually looking for more of a diverse spread of what I'm calling core coursework. And if you're an athlete, and I saw a couple people in here are athletes, you've probably heard the words core courses before for the NCAA. And you know what? It's not too dissimilar at the university itself. The universities are looking at grades 9 through grade 12, and they're looking for students to take a really nice breadth of what's called core coursework. And so usually what they would recommend, not usually a requirement, but usually a recommendation, English every year. Now, of course, if your first language is not English, like for example, if you're going to a French school, you would be expected to take your first language every year that you're in school. You would never be required to take English every year if it's not your language of instruction, but a good idea if you'd like to learn English. Math for 3 years. And again, I'm talking about grade 9 through 12 schools. So even like if you're in Alberta and it's a 10 through 12, I want you to also think back to your grade 9 coursework, because you usually have to give that information. So math, they're usually looking for at least 3 years. Science, 2 or 3 years, or units. I'm using the word units. Just think of that as like one class in this area. Social sciences, at least 2 units. So that would be like your history, geography classes. And then on top of that, as you get into upper division, law, psychology, anthropology. Social sciences is a pretty large breadth of coursework. Foreign language. Now, this is one thing that's different that you'll find from the US and Canada, is that in the US, some schools will either highly recommend or in some cases even require that you've taken foreign language in high school. And some schools might say that we need to see at least 1 unit of that, and some might say a progressive 2 units of that. And so that's really something that you need to pay attention to. If you have a school, I see some more athletes, which is great, a hockey player, a lacrosse player. So if you are looking at a university, and maybe even if you're being recruited, then you need to take a look at if they have that foreign language requirement minimum. Something that you might really want to consider maintaining through at least a year or 2 of high school. And some schools might even require you to take at least one arts unit. The University of California has what they call the A3g requirements, and within that, they like to see students take at least 1 year of the arts. Now, they don't tend to hold international students to that same strict requirement as they do their students from California. But the reason that they put that there is because they want students to express themselves in the arts, and that they see that as a very important part of your coursework. So in the US, you know, they do like to see if you've taken music or performing arts or something like that. So moving along, why core courses? So the holistic application process focuses on the liberal arts, and so because of the whole, sorry, I kind of blended those two things together. The holistic application process in the United States is something where they're not just looking at like in Canada, where they'll take like your top 4, 5, or 6 classes from grade 11 or 12. They're really looking at everything you did 9 through 12, as well as your activities, your honors, the things that you've done outside of the classroom. So they do really care about you as a holistic person. And so because of that, the universities themselves are also focused on liberal arts, and they really want students to embody that. A lot of institutions do. Not every single one, right? Like if you're looking to go to an art school where you're just doing your art, then you're going to focus kind of more 100% on that. But majority of institutions have this liberal arts focus, which means that they really do want to see, even if you're excited about political science, that you've also maintained a level of, say, math science throughout your high school. There's always the opportunity to begin undeclared. So that's really common in the US, to not have to even declare a major. So you want to have shown that you have a core course breadth, so that you go to school, you can be undeclared, maybe have an area you're like undeclared, but I think sciences, and then you can start to kind of work through different classes in that area. There's some statistics that say that at least 50% of students change their majors. So the US universities really operate on that notion that, okay, yeah, so you came in, you're excited about physiology, but but you don't get to really study physiology in high school, right? So you could learn once you get into university, like, oh, actually, I'm really psyched about environmental sciences. And you might shift paths. And so it's so important to have a core course background so that you can easily shift paths and also pick up a minor. You're like, and I think I want to do creative writing as a minor. So there's a lot of opportunity for that. So lastly, how you actually choose a major. I know that was the title of the webinar. Ask yourself a few questions. What do I like? What am I good at? What will I find engaging to learn? Use the tools to learn more, use just tools in general, to learn more about what majors are available. So I found a really nice quiz on US News and World Report. That's a great place to check that out. And I'll probably copy and paste that in the chat for you. Use the university websites. More and more university websites are categorizing their majors into like skill sets and interests. So you might see like, what do you like? And you might be able to choose something like helping people. And then from there, you would see majors that are related to helping people, as opposed to just the names of majors, many of which may be less familiar to you as students. So really use those tools on university websites, things like the quiz I put here. Go to thecollegeboard.org, use their dropdown to type in majors you think you might be interested in. Even just from that dropdown, you'll start to see like lists of more and more majors. And it's really interesting, might open your eyes to other options available to you. And honestly, Google, like there's so many articles and opportunities to learn more about majors out there. If you really don't know, that's totally fine. That's one of the strengths of US University. You could go to a liberal arts college and you can take a really like wide array of courses for 2 years before you choose a major. And at most schools, you can be undeclared and explore. Remember that you can explore your varied interests through a minor as well. So I think that's one thing students really take advantage of like, okay, like I want to be a math major because I think I want my profession to be related to math, but I love dance. So I'm going to get a minor in dance so I can still keep doing that thing I really like, that I don't want to do as a career, but I really just enjoy. And so you can combine those things really easily. And I actually just described a person that I know. So these are things that people actually do. And it's really not a big deal to change if you need to. So for the most part, I mean, obviously there's caveats to that, and you'll have to see at your university what the process is. But oftentimes it's as easy as going in to see your academic advisor and getting a couple signatures and making sure that you have a couple of prereq courses in your new major, and you can change. For a lot of schools, it's not that difficult, and it's something that students do. So you can change or you can add. There's a lot of opportunity for that. So as you're thinking about choosing your major, remember that it's not the be all end all of the world, but you definitely, if you're looking at a very specific college, like a college of business or engineering, those tend to be a little bit more selective, a little bit more challenging to get into. So it's very important that you are targeting all the things that you'll need for that particular specific school, and knowing that it's a lot easier to transfer out of a college of engineering or nursing or business than it is to transfer in for most schools, just because those are a little bit more selective of colleges if they exist. So that's just a primer, and I'm realizing that I accidentally just uploaded my slides and not the slides of all my colleagues here. So I need to get those slides up right away. So it might just take a moment for those slides to load. While the slides are loading, please let me know if you have any questions. Let me see. I know what I did. Here it is. All right, that's my thing. Okay, so we gotta wait just a second for that to load. And of course, while that's loading, I can't actually see the questions. Do feel free to put questions in the chat. I'll be with you in just a moment while the slides are loading. You can see our next presenters are going to be Dickinson College in Pennsylvania, which is a liberal arts college. Then we'll have Depaul University in Chicago, Illinois, a private university there. Then we'll have University of North Dakota, the flagship in North Dakota, Ohio University, and then University of Iowa, University of South Dakota, and then lastly, Wayne State University in Detroit, Michigan. So we have a really nice lineup of universities here. And I'm so glad so many of you indicated majors that you're excited about, because you'll be able to ask, like, well, I'll take a few notes when I'm done here, and we'll make sure to ask the universities what kind of majors they have in those areas. Okay, so if we would have Brian, if you want to jump on mic and camera, I'm just getting those slides up. Again, I apologize, I uploaded the wrong tech, so it'll just take a second as it's converting. But if you want to jump on, go for it. So the other thing I want to let you know that during these presentations, you can ask questions during the presentations in the public chat if you'd like. But I highly recommend that you also start conversations using some of the other chat features we have. As you'll see above the chat box, we have a private chat feature where you can reach out to anybody who's in the room, any of the presenters, and myself. So you can ask me questions, general admissions questions, and you can ask any of the presenters additional questions about their school. So do feel free to interact and engage with those universities throughout. That is absolutely something you can do. You can also use the Q&A chat if you just have like a one-off question. So the Q&A, you just ask a question and you'll get an answer from me or anybody else who's in that space. All right, so I finally got our slides up and going. I am recording this, so you'll be able to see it when we're all done. And there we go. All right, thank you for your patience. And I am gonna go ahead and pass things off to Brian Atkinson from Dickinson College. Brian, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, we're the only non-university here. We're the only school that is only undergraduate, so that word college is appropriate for us. Let me move the slides on here. Will I go? Okay. So we're located in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, right next to the state capitol. If you see that little map up in the top left there, we're about 2 hours from Washington, D.C. and 3 hours from New York City. We have programs in both of those places, in addition to everything going on the main campus. On the top right, you can see part of the main campus. That treed area there is in front of some of our academic buildings. And then town is just beyond that to the top of the screen. So one block off campus and you're in town, and that's what the pictures at the bottom represent. The nearest restaurant is a half a block away. There are lots of coffee shops, lots of things for students to do both on campus and in town. We go way back. We are the 16th oldest college in the United States. As you can see, we're established in 1783 by that gentleman over there on the left, Benjamin Rush. If anybody's heard of Benjamin Rush, I will be very impressed. He was a signer of the Declaration of Independence and extremely influential at the time, except nobody's heard of him. He was the leading physician in the colonies at the time. He was George Washington's physician. And from my perspective, he was way ahead of his time by at least a couple hundred years. He was doing things like he established the first Black church in Philadelphia and attended that. He established the first church for people with mental issues, first hospital for people with mental issues. Up to that point, they had been chained in the basements of other hospitals. And lastly, he was an advocate of women's rights. So all those are still issues today, unfortunately, but they were big issues for him at the time. There were really two words, if you forget everything else I say, that I want you to remember. Don't forget everything else I say, but focus on these two words. One would be global and the other would be sustainable. You can see we have 45 majors. Someone was interested in business. That's actually our number one major. Number one means most popular. All the majors are strong. Lots of opportunities in all of the majors. Small class size, or the average class size is 14. You can see the student-teacher ratio is 8-to-1. We are sought out by the media across the United States on a regular basis. There is not a week that goes by when I don't see one of our professors being consulted, the president being consulted, even some of our board members by these various media outlets for their opinion, or they've written articles for those things. So we have a significant presence beyond where we are located here in Pennsylvania. In terms of global, what I want to say about global is the number one major, as I mentioned, was International Business and Management. International is a very intentional part of the title of that course. It isn't a traditional North American business school program. It's much more global in perspective and really represents what's happening in a globalized society that we live in now in the 21st century. Another aspect of being global are international students like you. We have students from all over the world, but beyond that, we have students who are going to do study abroad. And more our international students are doing study abroad. We're unique in the fact that we have 18 study programs of our own in these different parts of the world that you see here. And beyond that, we have 14 other partner universities that we work with in other parts of the world. We've been doing this for a long time. We've been doing this for more than 50 years. Most of those places where you see our study abroad programs are not in capital cities. They're not in tourist destinations, in an effort to get away from the homogenization of the world. Yes, every place you go, there's a Kentucky Fried Chicken or a Starbucks or something like that. We've tried to stay away from those as best we can, though it's harder and harder all the time. We're going to be adding a new study abroad program. We were going to do it this fall, but because of COVID, we weren't able to do that. We're going to open up a study center in New Zealand. We'll probably be starting that either next semester or definitely next fall. I know that one's going to become popular quickly. So being out in the international community is a big part of what happens on our campus. As you can see from the statistics here, 2/3 of our students do, and at least almost 50% of science majors. For those of you interested in science, it's hard to study abroad as a science major without getting out of sequence and having to either go extra time or just not do it. Another part, as I said, is international, are people like you. We have students from 52 different countries on campus. Yes, Canada's there. You can see that on the list. And they represent about 14% of our student body. The national average is about 7% of a student body on campuses across the United States. So we're about twice that. So being international in that respect is important to us as well. Different perspectives and different opinions and things are really sought out in the classroom. And that's important to us, and international students help us with that because they do bring a different perspective. The other word that I wanted you to remember is a global issue, and it happens to be sustainability. We are the #1 school in the United States at the undergraduate level for sustainability and sustainability education. We became carbon neutral back in May, one of only 10 colleges in the United States currently that are carbon neutral. I think we were #2 when that happened back in May. We've been at this for a long time. It isn't just because it's in vogue to have things to do with sustainability. We've been doing this for way more than 20 years. So it's a big part of who we are and our identity. And it's infused into everything we do. So a lot of schools will tell you they're green because they have green buildings. You can see that over on the left part of this slide. We have those as well. One of the things I think that differentiates us and got us that #1 rating is the fact that we have a graduation requirement. All students must take one course in sustainability as it relates to your major. And so I'll show you a slide in a minute with some of the examples of that. So if you're an economics major, it doesn't mean you have to take a course in environmental education. You're going to take a course through the lens of economics, looking at issues of sustainability, but as an economist. Or if you're a psychologist, or if you're into international studies, every single major has courses in it that relate to the issue of sustainability, but from the perspective of that course. One of the other things I think that separates us from other schools with respect to sustainability is our college farm. As you can see, it's about 180 acres. We farm about half of that. I could talk about the farm all day long. It's one of my favorite places to go. And there's a lot of cool things going out there other than growing things. In addition to that, there's a lot of research and other opportunities to get involved in the community through the farm. So here are some of the courses that were offered this past spring with respect to sustainability, but in the different majors. So you can see some from economics, from French, from history, from international business and management. This is only a small sample. It changes every year, and there are many, many more courses like this that tie the issues of sustainability to whatever your major may be. Beyond being on our campus as academics, which is your focus, and I know that's what you want your focus to be, your parents certainly want that to be your focus. We want you to get engaged in something on campus that's meaningful to you beyond going to class and studying. Again, yes, we want you to be just superb in terms of the academics. We want you to get involved in campus life in some way. As you can see, we have 120 student organizations. We have quite a number of varsity teams. Those are the things that are represented here. So there's lots of different ways to get engaged on campus and off campus as well. Again, town is literally just step off campus and you're in town. Like most colleges and universities, we have dormitories or residence halls. We also around campus have some theme houses, and you'll see those. There's 2 pictures of some of the theme houses on campus. The one on the top left is a dog house. Pets are not allowed in our residence halls. This happens to be a group of students who are raising service dogs. So they were given a separate house that's just across the street from the campus. Or another house is over there in the right-hand side where you see the canoes. It's not the world's largest outhouse. That is the home of our outing club. And it's not all the students that are in the outing club can live there. It's not quite that big, but it's where they have their meetings, and a number of the people that are active in the outing club do live there. The outing club is extremely active. But again, we have 120 student organizations. There's a lot of different ways for you to get engaged in things that are going on our campus. Let me skip over this and come back to this one. So the next steps in thinking about us is spend a little more time virtually on our campus. So you can do a campus visit. There's ways to do that. Connect with your regional counselor, which would be me, that I'm responsible for all the students that are applying internationally. And have a virtual visit. We can arrange for you to talk to professors. We can arrange for you to talk to students in the areas in which you would like to study as well. And so lastly, here's more of my details if you want to take my email down. These are just something if you want to get in contact and further the things that you're doing. So questions, where are we with questions now? Any specific questions? Best degrees for a military career. We do have an ROTC unit. I did not mention that. We have an ROTC unit. I would say political science, international studies, history, law and policy. But a lot of these organizations, the military, are looking for people that are scientists as well. So there isn't any one. You can get into the military through most of the different majors that we have. And students who participate in our ROTC unit do very, very well in getting placed when they leave in terms of different branches of the military, not just here in the United States, but around the world. I should mention that next to us, right on the other side of town, is the United States Army War College. If we take out the word war and Army, it's more reflective of what's going on there. It's like graduate school for people in the military, but also people from Homeland Security, the FBI, CIA, State Department come and take courses there. And also people from 91 countries around the world. So it's a very international organization. The reason I mention it is we have a 4-course sequence with them in peace and security studies. It's a fantastic opportunity. It's open to any major. It's a really special opportunity that you're not going to find in other places. My questions here I'm not seeing. No questions.
So Brian, some folks had just put some of their interests earlier on.
Move on, Jenika, to the next person if there's no questions, or I can rattle on some more.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, great. Some people said some of their interests, so I think I'll just reflect on some of those. We do have a few athletes in the group. Is your school, what division is your school part of, and what sports are available?
We're a D3 school. We have, don't please ask me to name all of the teams because we've got 35 varsity teams. Where we would be really competitive and big, somebody said they were interested in lacrosse. Our men's lacrosse is nationally ranked for a D3 school.
Okay.
So is both our track and our cross country teams always do well nationally. Our squash team, we do recruit a lot of students from Canada for our squash team. Our squash team is very international and does well. We've got students literally from all over the world on the squash team. And of course, because I have to say this because I talk to kids in Europe all the time, American football. And basketball does well, soccer. We've gone to the NCAA is the athletic governing body for the United States. We've gone to tournaments some years in each of our sports. So we may be a small school, but we've got a very, very strong athletic program.
Awesome. And Fiona says that she's interested in studying nursing in Pennsylvania. Does your school have nursing, or there are some other people interested in kinesiology or pre-health?
So we have a pre-health track, which can lead to any of those things. It can lead to medical school. It can lead to a nursing master's. I know students that have left our program and gone into nursing master's programs. We have a relationship with Johns Hopkins University for that and a couple other universities. In terms of medical school, it's one of the slides I would have shown, but I saved it for the pop-up, but I can go back to that maybe. Yes.
Yeah, I should get your pop-up right now as well. So if you want to learn more about Dickinson, you can click on this, and also you can, you probably saw the poll I put up. Just make sure you say yes to the poll, and Brian will get in touch with you. And Brian, I made a portmanteau of your last name and your university earlier. I called you Atkinson.
I got that. Happens all the time. It's not unusual.
So Brian Atkins, yes.
Right.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Brian. And so what's going to happen is Brian's going to hang out a little bit longer. So you can send him private chat messages. I see that there's a question in the Q&A chat. So it looks like Jacob has a question. So go ahead and go in there and answer questions, and please, you can send them to Brian directly. Thank you so much, Brian.
Okay, well, thank you for the opportunity.
Awesome. And so now we've got our next act. We've got Depaul University. So Antonia, if you wouldn't mind coming on mic and camera. So Depaul in Chicago, Illinois. I saw a few of you interested in Division I sports. So the next 5 universities are all in NCAA Division I. So do feel free to ask those questions, as well as your questions about the majors you're interested in. You've been doing a great job putting those in the chat. There she is. All right. So I will hand things over to Antonia Cretineau from Depaul University.
Thank you so much, Jenika. So welcome to Depaul, which is located in Chicago. If any of you are from Toronto, Chicago is obviously a stone's throw away, and a pretty similar city in terms of look and feel. I'm here representing the Depaul University, which is the largest Catholic university in the United States, established in 1898 and named after its founder, St. Vincent de Paul, whom we all affectionately call Vinny. So DePaul is the largest Catholic university in the US, the 14th largest private. And what I think is most important, it is the largest university in the US with a mission of teaching and service. And why is this important? Because the interplay of big and small that DePaul offers. So we're known as the little big school. We come with all the diversity, the synergy, the infrastructure of a larger institution. We have students from all 50 states in the United States and from over 110 countries, 114 countries actually at last count. And yes, Canada is represented. We have state-of-the-art facilities that come with a university of that size, including our newest additions, a new music building, a new theater building, and the Wintrust Arena, which is the newest home to DePaul University's men's and women's basketball teams. We are a D1 school. We also have some of the best university film and television studios in Chicago at CineSpace, where big productions such as Chicago Fire, Chicago Med, Chicago PD are being produced. At the same time, as a teaching institution, DePaul comes with a small school feel. The vast majority of our classes are below 30 students, the overall average at the undergraduate level being below 22. Ratio of students to professors is 15:1, and 98% of classes are taught by faculty, not by teaching assistants. Rankings don't say it all, but they do give you an idea of what DePaul has to offer. Both in general, we're ranked number 124 in the US among the best national universities. And keep in mind that this is not a small feat, because there are about 4,000 plus universities in the US. So this is really quite a high ranking. You can also see great rankings for a lot of our undergraduate and graduate programs. So not a one pony trick, pretty well-rounded overall as a school. As I was telling you, we're located in the city of Chicago, which is the 3rd largest city in the US. It has great public transportation and over 400 major corporations, including more than 30 Fortune 500 companies. All of them recruit students at DePaul for internships as well as for jobs. So what this means is that you have wonderful opportunities for internships and jobs in Chicago, where we're a brand name since we have been around for a lot more than 100 years. Chicago is not just about work and school and learning and studying. It comes with a lot of fun features as well. There are plenty of museums, very diverse in terms of neighborhoods and the people here. World-class theater, concerts, restaurants, sports teams. And you're in the middle of it all at Depaul, and you have unlimited rides on the U-Pass. The U-Pass is pretty much a pass that allows you to use the bus and train transportation system in Chicago as many times as you want every day, and be able to experience a little bit of the city. In terms of programs, Depaul has over 130 undergraduate majors, and more than that in terms of graduate majors. A lot of the undergraduate programs offer a combination of bachelor and master degree. You don't have to decide that from the very beginning. You start by applying for your undergraduate major, but then once you reach your third year of university, you can petition to be accepted in the joint program. You start taking graduate classes immediately. What's also very nice is that your graduate program being your second program at Depaul, we offer you a discount of 25% on the graduate program. These graduate classes that you start taking immediately double count, both for your bachelor and master degree. So you save 1 year, and we also get to call you something awesome. We'll call you a double demon if you do both a bachelor and a master at Depaul. Because nice Catholic school that we are, our mascot is a blue demon. These are some of the undergraduate majors. I would say they're the top undergraduate majors that international students usually apply for. But if you go to the handout section of this website, you will find there a road piece for Depaul University, so an electronic brochure, and you can see there all the majors that we have to offer, all the 130 of them. STEM majors are also important. Students are interested in them. They give students the opportunity to work in the US for a longer period of time. If you're doing a non-STEM major, you can apply for OPT, so you can apply to work in the US for 1 year. If you're doing a STEM major, that can be extended for up to 3 years. So these are some of the STEM majors that we offer at Depaul, and which would give you a little bit more time to spend in the US working, not just studying. Student life. Well, I would say the first thing is that we're in the middle of the city of Chicago, and the city beckons. So we only hope that we can keep you on campus to do some activities, because there's so much to do in the city. So because we want to entice you to do that, we have over 350 student clubs and organizations, a lot of service opportunities. Actually, Depaul is ranked in the top 25 schools for service, for community service. And we are a D1 school, as I was telling you. That's the Depaul Blue Demons. That's our athletic teams. And if you're interested in the sports that we offer, we have men's basketball, cross country, golf, soccer, tennis, track and field, and women's basketball, cross country, soccer, softball, tennis, track and field, and volleyball. No hockey.
Ben is out there in just a t-shirt and bare feet. Nobody's making him do that.
I would also like to talk a little bit about outcomes, because obviously it's important to get an education. But why is it important? It's important because of what you're going to do with that education once you graduate. And I'm happy to let you know that about 93% of our student population at the undergraduate level either gets a job or applies and gets admitted to a graduate program within 6 months of undergrad graduation. So that's a pretty good rate. And then you can see on this slide what the various career outcomes are per college. With business, not surprisingly, at a highest or a high 95%, as well as communications, business is one of our flagship programs. So if anybody in Chicago gets asked about DePaul, they'll tell you, oh, DePaul, accounting and finance. It's a little bit unfair because we do have quite a lot of other academic programs that are really good, really highly ranked, and that we're really proud of. We're one of the top 25 schools in the world for theater, for instance. We're top 25 for entrepreneurship, both at the undergraduate and graduate level. So quite a lot of different programs, not just business. Business just happens to be the one that people.
Because I realized I came in. Who was that first girl that you were talking to?
I'm sorry. Somebody else has the mic on.
Oh, no, those are the things.
Turning your mics off. A little bit about the undergraduate admission program. I'm assuming most of you here are freshmen, so I'm going to go in more detail through this undergraduate application process for freshman students. We use the common application as our application form. We have 2 deadlines. November 15 is early action. February 1st is regular notification. We're going to need your official high school transcripts. Obviously, we don't need English translations from most of Canada. And then English proficiency, we also don't need from most of Canada. So it's a very simple, very streamlined application process. If you're a transfer student, you can apply to DePaul. You can be considered for admission, and we will look at your previous college experience and try to transfer as much of your college credit as we can, as we possibly can from your prior education. This is an estimation of our tuition and living expenses for 1 year. So we're sort of medium, middle of the road in terms of estimated tuition, about $40,000 a year for most programs, with a little bit more for the theater school and the School of Music. But the great news is that our scholarships are also very good. And being a private institution, we charge the same tuition, and we consider all students for the same scholarship range. So whether you are an international student, an American student, in-state, out of state, we do not have those different category of pricing or different scholarships. So everybody's considered for scholarships between $7,500 and $25,000 a year, renewable for 3 additional consecutive years. This is how to connect with us. And did I go over my time a little bit?
We're just about at 4 o'clock, so perfect to wrap up. And I want to make sure you see Winnie's question: if DePaul can accept non-Catholic students.
Oh, by all means. Actually, we don't ask our students what they are in terms what religion they belong to. It's a very open-minded, very liberal, very all-embracing school. I come from a human rights environment, and I was surprised that I'm still surprised over and over. And I've been at DePaul for almost 20 years now, with how liberal, forward-thinking, and open-minded we are. So yeah, it doesn't matter if you're a Catholic or not.
Awesome. And North Dakota, if you want to come on mic, and Antonio will just be finishing up as you come on. Oh, there she goes. Wanted her to say a couple words. Okay, so for Depaul, if you'd like to learn more information, I'm going to get that pop-up up for you. So if you'd like to see more on their website, you can click on that. And of course, I have the poll up, so you can click yes on the poll, and Antonia will follow up with more information. Our next university is the University of North Dakota. We'll have Hannah Phelps joining us here in a moment. We're just waiting for her to come on the microphone and the camera. In the meantime, I'll give you even another offer. Can keep popping things up at you. So Education USA is a free service, and I'm happy to help students understand the process of applying to schools in the US. If you would like to sign up for a 30-minute advising session, you can do that with my Calendly link, and I'm happy to help answer any questions you have about applying to US universities. All right, Hannah, if you're having any issues, please just let me know in the presenter chat. Also know that there is a handout section. I don't know if you've all explored that yet, but above the chat, there's a handouts area, and you can find little pieces of information from all the schools here today. All right, Hannah?
All right. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely.
All right. I was having a little trouble turning it on there.
No problem.
So let's see here. All right. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Hannah Phelps. I am from the University of North Dakota, so I'm an admissions rep here at UND. Primarily, I cover students who are like international or Canadian. So most students who are watching this, I cover you, and I help you with the application process. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and start running through some information about UND here. So to start with, just of course to talk about academics at UND, we have over 225 different fields of study that students can pursue. This includes a course of full school of undergraduate studies where students can have both majors and minors, as well as we have a full school of graduate studies, including a medical and law school. We're the only college in North Dakota to feature both a medical and law school, and it just having all those opportunities really allows for our students to have a very well-rounded education and really be able to customize their education to what they prefer, what their goals include. So constantly UND is developing new programs on our campus. In the last couple of years, we've really expanded the amount of combined and accelerated degrees we have present. Those combined degrees are really excellent because in your junior year, usually of your bachelor's degree, you would of course then apply for your master's program and be able to complete both degrees in about 5 years. So it saves students a lot of time, and it saves students a lot of tuition money as well. But just to run through some of the different programs and colleges on our campus, UND does feature a College of Aerospace. That's definitely a really big attractant for students to come to our school because it is a very unique program for UND to have. A lot of students pursue commercial aviation with the goal of becoming a commercial pilot. We have a full College of Engineering, which covers 12 different areas of study, including computer science. Our arts and sciences programs, the most common there are definitely communications, psychology, and definitely our pre-med, pre-professional, and pre-law programs as well for students looking to continue higher education. We have an education college and a new College of Business as well. Our College of Business, it is in the process of building a whole new building, so that'll be completed in the fall of 2022, so that's a really exciting update. And then we also feature a College of Nursing and Professional Disciplines, which our nurses are extremely successful when they come through UND, and then also our social work program is extremely important to our campus as well. But overall, the average class size at UND is only about 24 students, and our student to faculty ratio is about 18:1. So really when you come to UND, like you see in the picture here, this is going to be kind of an example of what your classroom experience is going to be. Yes, we do have lecture halls on our campus, but by majority, most students find themselves in a very traditional classroom setting that's based more so around like hands-on work and seminar-based learning where you're working in groups or with each other or with your professor on a closer level, which is a great opportunity. So we'll talk about student involvement as well. So at UND, we really encourage our students to be involved in all aspects of their education, including outside the classroom. So we have over 240 different clubs and organizations present on our campus, which includes, very program-oriented clubs and organizations where students might participate in a club associated with their program. But we also have a lot of faith-based and culture-based organizations. Joining sororities and fraternities is a great way to be connected while you're in college, and then also to be engaged in philanthropies. And then we also have a lot of student services available as well, including we have a wellness center on our campus that's free for students to use. It's a full-scale gym, but they also hold a lot of wellness classes in there. There's a rock climbing wall, etc. They also have a lot of intramural and club-based sports teams. And kind of going off of sports in that regard, UND is a Division I school. So we do have a lot of athletic events that take place on our campus and a lot of ways for students to be involved in athletics. Definitely some of our biggest sports on the men's side are like hockey, basketball, football, golf. On the women's, we have, for example, we have soccer, and some different opportunities there. I fortunately don't have all the different sports off the top of my head, but if you have any questions on athletics or sports, definitely feel free to let me know and I can quickly look them up for you after I finish presenting. But otherwise, beyond that, it's just a really great way to get involved. There's a lot of student services available, and we really encourage our students to take advantage of those services. Because by majority, whether you need tutoring help, using our writing center, career services, or counseling services, they're going to be free for our UND students to use. Another thing to mention too with UND involvement, we are currently finishing up construction of our new Memorial Union, which is a big student hub on our campus. That'll be completed in the fall of 2021, so coming up really soon here. So talking about housing on campus, because of course it's another really great way to be involved there too. When it comes to housing on our campus, first-year students are required to live in UND housing for their first year. This, of course, there's a lot of different options for students on our campus. So we have the traditional resident halls, where it's pretty much 2 students sharing a bedroom and everything else is communal. We also have our suite style, which is pretty much set up where you have 2 bedrooms with 2 students in each room, and they have a shared bathroom area. And then we also have U-Place, which is like the hybrid between that suite style and also traditional student apartment, because it includes a living and kitchen area. Along with living in on-campus housing, all of our resident hall students also need to have the Anytime Access meal plan. The Anytime Access meal plan, kind of like it says in the name, gives you anytime access to our dining centers on our campus. So it really is convenient for students, and of course it's a really great way to get students together and be able to go have meals, get that social aspect as well. So I'm going to move on and kind of talk more about the admissions type information too about UND. So up on the screen, this is going to be our overall freshman admission guidelines for this upcoming year. So through the summer of 2022, UND did get permission to waive the ACT, SAT requirements at our university. So for students who don't know, otherwise normally both Canadian and US students are normally required to submit an ACT or SAT score. That has been waived. So for the most part, what you're looking for the application process is, of course, fill out the online application for the undergraduate program that you're interested in, and then we would need to receive your transcript. So for most students, that would be, of course, your high school transcript. For others, if you started any college credits, make sure you have those submitted to UND. But if you have those requirements met, we would look for at least a 2.75 high school GPA, and that would meet by majority a lot of the program admission requirements on our campus. For transfer students, we would be looking at, again, receiving those college transcripts, and then we look for a 2.0 college GPA for that. For tuition, just to go over a couple quick things regarding tuition at UND. So overall, UND is considered to be a very affordable four-year U.S. institution. So a couple things that I want to note is usually the best resource to find out tuition costs is to use our online website. So for our website, every single program at UND has its own program page. within that program page, you're going to have links that not only list the requirements of that program, but also the cost and tuition for that program too. So that's where you usually find the most up-to-date and accurate information about what the program costs are going to be. In addition to that, though, some other things to note: on-campus students, your tuition caps at UND. So pretty much what that means is most full-time students, when they're on campus, take at least 12 credits. By majority, a lot of the students take somewhere between 15 to 17 credits per term. But once you hit that 12 credit mark, your tuition will cap. So for most students taking anywhere from 15 to 17, they're usually getting at least 1 or 2 classes for free every semester based on that. So that's a great way that UND is able to keep tuition costs lower. And then something else to mention, especially for interested Canadian students, UND does have a like a reciprocity agreement with Manitoba and Saskatchewan, where basically students from those 2 provinces, you actually can qualify for the like the domestic student rate. So you would fall under the category of like all other U.S. states outside of North Dakota and Minnesota. So that's a really great option. Again, helps lower the cost for a lot of our students. But overall, compared to other 4-year institutions of our program diversity and student body, typically we're about $4,000 less per year in tuition. And then finally, I do want to dive into some scholarship information as well. So with scholarships at UND, up on the top part of this slide, there's an overall chart of basically our automatic freshman scholarship that any student who applies to UND can be eligible for. Basically, all you need to do to be eligible for the scholarship is apply, send us your academic information, and then you need to meet the February 1st deadline. So February 1st would be the priority deadline for the fall semester for freshman students. If you apply and are admitted by then, you can automatically be considered for the scholarship. So how you are considered is we look at your unweighted GPA from your high school transcripts. And if you have at least a 3.5 or higher, you can qualify for one of these scholarships. In addition to that, though, we also have an application called Scholarship Central. That is by far where the majority of UND scholarships are connected. So how that works is once you're an admitted student, you can sign into Scholarship Central. It'll ask for overall information like what program you're in and then academic information about yourself. And then once you input that information and submit it, it goes automatically to the scholarships you're eligible for. So there's over 800 different scholarships connected to it. Super easy and simple to use, and all students are eligible to use it. So again, the big thing you want to do to make sure you can get into Scholarship Central, make sure you apply by February 1st, because that is going to be the deadline that Scholarship Central closes for the fall of 2021. So for anybody who's extremely interested in UND, please apply by that date so that way you can get the full scholarship opportunities from our school. So that kind of concludes the information that I have to run by really quick for students. This is just a really beautiful picture of our campus in fall. So definitely let me know in the chat if you have any other questions for me. I would be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you so much, Hannah. And we have a great question here about GPA.
Also, UND is currently doing visits as well. So if you're interested in either an in-person or online visit, that information's on our website. So please consider taking up that opportunity so you can kind of learn a little bit more in-depth information about UND and what UND can offer you.
Thank you so much. So we have a question about GPA conversion. So you said there was a 2.75 minimum. How do you come up with that GPA for a Canadian student?
Yep, so that would be based on like a 4.0 scale, which is common to U.S. institutions, of course. But for any students who have like alternative ways of having grades, all of our international processors, they actually do keep basically huge guides that keep track of how different like provinces or different countries or international institutions do their GPA, and they're able to convert it. So for students who are, example, like on like a 100-point scale, We can organize that based on what roughly is equivalent. So 4.0 would be closer to 100, and we can base it on that factor as well. So that's just an example, but yep, we do have the tools to convert that, and it is done all on an individual basis for our international or Canadian students.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And if you still want to ask some questions for Hannah, please go ahead and do that. Send her a private chat message, keep the conversation going, ask her about your major, your sport, anything that you'd like. Thanks so much, Hannah.
Thank you.
All right, so our next university is going to be Ohio University. And so we'll just wait for our colleague there to get on. So that's Lori. So as Lori is getting on the call, Rob asked a question about athletic scholarships. And I see that that Antonia helped answer that question, which was how athletic scholarships work are oftentimes in collaboration with the academic scholarships. All right, Lori, hello.
Hello, thanks for having me.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and pass things off to you.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. My name is Lori Groman, and I am here to talk about Ohio University. Oops. I'm the Assistant Director for International Admissions. But more importantly, I am also a two-time graduate of Ohio. So I studied biology here for my undergrad and have a master's in environmental studies. So I have a little bit more than just representing Ohio. I've studied here, I've lived here, and I know the university pretty well. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. So Ohio University was established in 1804. So we have a long-standing tradition of higher education in the US. We are a public research university, which means that our faculty and professors are actively engaged in research in their field. And what that means for our students is that they can be part of this research. And as early as their freshman year, they can get involved if that is something that they want to do. We have 23,000 students on campus, and 17,000 of those are undergraduate students. So we are very much focused on the undergraduate experience. And that goes from everything from your student organizations to your classes to your research experience that you might want to pursue. We have 250 majors that we offer. So anything from business, engineering, fine arts, humanities. Like I said, I studied biology. So whatever you are looking to study, we probably have it. And if we don't, we have a create your own major that some students do pursue. So rankings aren't everything, but we do like to brag a little bit. As I mentioned, we do have the College of Business and Engineering and our journalism program. Those are all top programs in the US. But probably the most important ranking is that we are #1 in student satisfaction. So our students are happy here. They have fun. It's not just all about going to classes. They like being here. They call Athens their second home. So where are we exactly? We are located in the eastern part of the US in a small town called Athens, Ohio. As I mentioned, there's about 23,000 students on our campus, and there's probably about 10,000 people that live in this town. So it's a small town, very much a college town, and the services and businesses here are here for you as a college student. So again, it's a fun place to live, very active, very young. But we are within a couple hours drive of 3 major cities in the state of Ohio. So Columbus, Cincinnati, and Cleveland are all major metropolitan areas. They have great business opportunities, internship opportunities, and a lot of our students are from these cities. So it's easy for them to do internships or go home and visit if that's what they want to do. So the state of Ohio is in the northern part of the US. We have 4 seasons similar to Canada. And so you will experience snow, you'll experience heat in the summer, but our fall and our spring are beautiful with the leaves changing in the fall. We just went through that. It was just a gorgeous year. And in the spring, it's beautiful when everything turns green and the flowers bloom and the trees bloom, and just a wonderful place to be. So we are also located in the small town, which provides a secure and peaceful environment for you to study. I mentioned we have student organizations, over 600 on our campus. So this is everything from cultural organizations, maybe something in your major, a professional organization. We have fun organizations. We have the Student Hammock Club, and when the weather's nice, they send out a message and everyone puts their hammocks up in the trees or on campus. So there's just a wide variety of student organizations. We are Division I NCAA. We have 16 teams on campus between the men and women's sports. Our hockey team is a club team, and we have about 32 other sports in the club division. Not only are there sports on campus, but we also really push the fine arts here. We have free performances for our students that are given by our Department of Theater, Film, Music, and Dance. So those are happening all throughout the semester. And like I said, it's free for students to go to. We also have the Performing Arts Series, which is when the university brings in national acts. So maybe it's a Broadway show or a comedian or a musical act. So these are happening throughout the semester. And so there's always a lot of things going on here in our small town. So we do have scholarships for international students, and your application for admission is also your application for scholarships. So we try to make it easy. And our application requirements are just the application itself and your high school transcript. So we don't require the SAT or ACT, and those scholarships are renewable throughout your 4 years at Ohio. And then we also have upperclassmen scholarships. So once you're here, you can apply again for more. As I mentioned, you can apply, or you need to apply, and the application is available online. Our minimum GPA requirement is 2.8 on that 4.0 scale. And no matter which province you come from, we will do an internal evaluation of your transcript to turn that into a 4.0 scale. So don't worry if your transcript is not on a 4.0 scale. And our scholarships range from $2,000 to $15,000. And then when you look at our tuition, which is around $22,000, you can see how much that scholarship could go towards your tuition. Now, we also put in our living expenses and health insurance for that I-20 number, which is $41,124. And this is what you will need to show to get your I-20 to get your visa appointment. Once you are a student here at Ohio, we have the International Student and Faculty Services Office, and they will help you with all your immigration needs. They have their own orientation before school starts to inform our students of what those regulations are. They also will assign you a professional staff member to be your advisor. But we also have peer mentors, which are current students that have already gone through this process. So they can help our students acclimate to the new surroundings. We also will assign you an academic advisor, and this is someone who will help you throughout your 4 years, and they can help you pick out classes, maybe do a little networking for you if you're looking for an internship, but they're really there to support you along the way. Other support services are the tutoring center and the supplemental instruction. These are outside the classroom, and it can help you, if you're struggling with a class. Also, if you do great in a class, you can teach those supplemental instruction events and get paid for it. So you can use that as something to help you if you're struggling, but also if you did really well in a class, you can go back and be a supplemental instructor. Our writing center, the math and science center are all located in our Alden library. And our library is 7 floors tall. So there's There's a computer lab in there. There's a makerspace. There's study rooms. So it's a great place to go for research and for help on any projects that you might have. And lastly, I will end with a fun fact. So Nathan Roarek, who hails from Oakville, Ontario, he was our starting quarterback for the past 3 years, and he just got drafted by the BC Lions. So we are excited to see how he does in the CFL. And to keep it all in the family, his kid brother, Curtis, is now the starting quarterback as a redshirt freshman. So that's just a few Canadians that are on our campus. So again, here is my information. So you are welcome to contact me any way you choose if you have questions about Ohio University. Thank you.
If you want to stay on, you have a couple more minutes. You have a couple more minutes if you want to stay on and answer questions. So Rob asked about your Division I women's soccer program. I saw on your website that you do have D1 women's soccer. So if you wanted to give any follow-up information about that, Rob was interested.
Sure. Yes, we do have Division I women's soccer, and I do not recruit. So I would recommend that you go to the Ohio Bobcats website. I think someone put the link. Yeah, Jenika, you did. Thank you. If you go to the landing page, there is a drop-down menu for recruits, and you fill out a questionnaire, and then our coach will contact your coach, and they do their own recruiting.
And there's been a lot of students who've been really interested in health science fields, kinesiology, dentistry, genetics, nursing, physiotherapy, and pediatric studies, to name a few. Can you tell us a little more about your health sciences?
Sure. So we have nursing, a bachelor's in science in nursing, and it's very competitive. Like most of the U.S., nursing is a very competitive field. So students are admitted to the pre-nursing program. Usually about 200 students are admitted to pre-nursing, and then you apply in your first year for nursing, which they take the top 100 students. So really it's just about your GPA and how you did your first year of your freshman year of school, of university. We also have exercise physiology, which is pretty popular. Students will study that if they want to pursue a master's in something like kinesiology, or maybe they want to study physical therapy. So we do have that. We have athletic training. We have all the pre-professional programs. So dentistry, medicine, like I said, physical therapy, optometry. We have pre-pharmacy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And Matthew is asking about your men's hockey ranking. So you mentioned that that's a club team.
Yeah.
Do you know any more information about the club hockey team?
I do a little bit. So they compete, let me see if I can remember this, in the CSHL, is that right? I know they're pretty competitive because I work with their coach a lot in recruiting. That's the one coach I probably work with more than any other because it's not a varsity sport. So we don't have a lot of scholarships for that particular sport, but I know the coach has been to Canada a few times. He's also been to, I don't know if he's been there, but he's recruited from Canada. He's recruited from Europe.
So most club teams are a part of the ACHA organization, and then there would be 3 divisions. So it sounds like, is it part of the most competitive division?
It's something like CHSHL, maybe.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find it real quick.
All right. Why don't you go ahead and, Matthew, send a direct message in the private chat to Lori at Ohio University. She can give you some links to the hockey team. And Michaela, every school here, I'm pretty sure, has a volleyball team. So, you can also send a private chat directly to Lori and ask her about volleyball and for the direct link there. So absolutely, yes. Okay, cool. Thank you so much, Lori. And we will keep on moving. As we do that, I'll make sure to get your pop-up here. So if you want more information about Ohio University, there's the button to press on, and also the poll. If you like to receive more info, you can also say yes to the poll that I put up. And we are now waiting for our next university to join us. That'll be the University of Iowa. And one thing I want to mention, so Lori had just said about a appointment at the consulate or embassy for a visa. I do want to just put in the caveat that Canadian citizens do not actually apply for a visa. Once you have your I-20, that's all you need when you go to university. But if you are not a Canadian citizen, if you are a permanent resident or international student, you would need a visa to go study in the US. So that's just an important distinction for our Canadian citizens here. And it looks like, is it Becky? Hi, Becky.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely. All right, I'll go ahead and
Great.
turn it over to you.
And then I advance the slide here, looks like. Okay. All right, I am Becky Hansen. I'm so happy to talk to you today from University of Iowa. I direct the international recruitment and outreach here. I am a graduate of the Gpa College of Business, and I'm spending year 34 working for the University of Iowa. So I feel really qualified to tell you about academic life and just life here in Iowa City. It really is a great place to live and study. So let's take a look here. Who we are. It's a charming small city, really. Iowa City has just about 100,000 people. The enrollment of the university is large, 32,000 students. About 1/3 are master's and PhD students, and 2/3 are undergraduates like you. So about 22,000 are undergraduate students. We love that we have almost 2,500, 2,600 international students on campus every year from over 100 different countries. So picture this small city that's very, very diverse. I have 2 fun facts. We currently enroll 33 Canadians, yay. A second fun fact is Iowa City is known to be the #1 college town in America this year. So to get to us, it's easy. Students from across the globe will fly into Chicago. You'll fly from the north. Really, really a lovely college town. Oops, here we go there. And we do have the 4 seasons. Canadians, you'll feel right at home. This is a fun slide when I present in the Middle East and African countries and places where it's hot, but you'll feel right at home in our winter season here. This is what it looked like when you arrive in August as a new student. And then this is what it looks like now, to come a little further south. Really lovely to have 4 seasons. This is our lovely campus, full of big city activity, but I really know that you'll appreciate the safe, charming, smaller place that it is. The crosswalk area that you see on the slide, that's the heart of campus. The white and brick buildings, those are all classrooms. At the top of the slide, you'll want to notice we are connected to a world-class University of Iowa hospitals and clinics. Anyone interested in the healthcare field really needs to put Iowa on the short list and take advantage of this unique feature, just being steps away from your dormitory. At the bottom of the slide, you'll see the slight strip of a road. Students cross the street from campus and they're in downtown Iowa City. So everything students need can be found in one place. Over 100 downtown boutiques, restaurants, banks and pharmacies and coffee shops are there. So picture all of this condensed into a 4 to 5 block area and just about a 15-minute walk from where you live. Awesome. The University of Iowa is made up of 11 colleges within the university. Jenika talked about that in her intro. We have colleges within the university. We offer colleges for the liberal arts, business, and engineering. That's how most students start. There are also colleges of medicine, dentistry, law, public health, education, nursing, and pharmacy. So a lot of healthcare studies here at Iowa. This is a place where art meets the sciences, and they work together in degree programs and in student life activity. So that combination, really, your age group, this fourth industrial revolution, the digital age that we find ourselves in, this is a place to study those things for careers ahead. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, computer science, data science, business analysis, cybersecurity, sustainability, and more. So think about careers of the future and what you're going to study in that way too. We have a really strong College of Engineering, ranked in the top 20% of all engineering programs in the US, 6 degree programs, alphabetical order, those are biomedical engineering, chemical and biochemical, civil and environmental engineering, computer science and electrical engineering, industrial and systems engineering, and last but not least, one of our most popular is mechanical engineering. So our students graduate being a specialist in a focus area within engineering. So employers love that 97% job placement rate from our engineering college. Some other strengths that I need to mention are biology, chemistry, physics, math, computer science, data science. Again, this is where art meets the sciences, so we're also strong in graphic design, music, cinema and screenwriting, world-famous creative writing. We have Hawkeyes in Hollywood. A few examples are the writing talents and directing talents of Hawkeyes in Hollywood, like Avengers: Infinity Wars, A Quiet Place, The West Wing, The Sopranos, Mad Men, House of Cards, a long, long list of famous Hawkeyes. So really cool stuff that way. We do want you to join what we call the Hawkeye family. We get often asked, can I work on campus? Yes, jobs are plentiful. They're in food service, the university hospital that we have there, work in a lab, in the library. We also hire students in our admissions office for clerical positions or tour guides. Be involved as a student. Join one of our over 500 clubs and organizations. They range from politics, environmental clubs, business clubs, science clubs, event planning, and a long list of sport clubs. And then be sure to attend one of the over 400 art and music performances that we bring to campus every year. Boston, New York, the big plays, they come to Hansher Auditorium. Lots and lots of things to do. Students love our recreation center. It's like having your own health club. Inside, it's right across from the main library, but inside is an Olympic-sized pool, a lazy river, a hot tub, a rock climbing wall, hundreds of machines, weights, and bikes. Again, just use your student ID and use it. It's included with your activity fee, so it's like a free service every day in that respect. This is our a football stadium, American football, 70,000 fans. The size of the city fits into this stadium. You can go to games like that. We are part of the NCAA Division I that we've talked about. A long list of sports. I can talk about those maybe at the very end. A lot of sports interest today, so I do want to talk about that. And then, of course, parents love this slide too, as much as the students. What is the outcome if I go to the University of Iowa? You can expect to work with our career services very closely from year one. They'll make sure you're building a robust resume with your academics and your outside activities and putting that on paper. They will have mock interviews with our students, and then we bring companies to campus. We don't just say, congratulations, you're graduated, good luck. We work with students up to a year after graduation, and we have such success and high job placement rates from those efforts. So how do you get into a place like Iowa? We only admit above average students. We're looking for a 3.0 grade point average, 3.0. And like some other schools this year, normally we want to see ACT or SAT for scholarship consideration, not for admission, but really for scholarships. This year, it's optional. We will still consider students for admission and scholarship. Up to $10,000 per year, that's our highest award. Okay, 500 to 10,000, and we're really looking at your grades with those. We admit on a rolling basis. We're accepting applications now, and you'll have a decision within just a couple of weeks. So apply early to reserve your housing. Housing's assigned on a first applied, first reserved basis. So that really is the key reason you might want to apply early to Iowa. And then this is, we definitely want to contact you Zooming one-to-one after today. But as I promised, I said I would make that list of athletic sports. And so I did look at our website. Men's sports. We offer baseball, basketball, cross country, football, golf, gymnastics, tennis, track and field, and wrestling. And for you women there, we have basketball, cross country, field hockey, golf, gymnastics, rowing, soccer, softball, and tennis. So I challenge you to find a place with more school spirit than the University of Iowa Hawkeyes. Go on the web, practice doing the wave. Our football stadium is quite famous for this, waving to the Children's Hospital as part of those games. So take a look at just a little further south from where you are now for great education. We're here to help you. And so, questions for me? Oops. Jenika?
So much great information. And so anybody, please feel free to ask questions. I did also, on your website, I saw you have a women's volleyball as well. That was one that I didn't hear you say.
Oh, pardon me. Yes, we definitely have women's volleyball.
Excellent. There was a student interested in that. So I'll just tell you a few majors people have been interested in, and maybe you could tell us a little bit more of some opportunities related to those majors. There's a student who is interested in Homeland Security and options related to a military career.
Well, the Homeland Security one, I saw that earlier and I thought there's no degree called I'm going to get a bachelor in Homeland Security.
No.
And so you might want to look at things like the cybersecurity, some things behind the scenes, even management sciences, how to manage things within a Homeland Security setting. There are lots of areas that you could explore for different jobs within Homeland Security. That was very interesting to me. So I'd like to talk to that student maybe privately about what career goals that student has, and then we can talk about majors and work backward on that.
And Kellen's interested in basketball, and he's asking where he could find a coach's email address.
I could direct you. You really have to recruit. Well, let me back up. Division I coaches are already scoping the planet for national players. You have to play at a national level to be recruited to Division I team. It's pretty tough. So they are generally on the lookout for you long before you're on the lookout for them. But if you haven't been talked to yet and you want to be, they will. You can certainly market yourself. There's often videos involved and things that you'll need to market to the coaching staff. So I can connect you. Just contact me separately on your sport and I'll connect you to our athletic office for that.
Awesome. Yeah, and a lot of websites have recruitment questionnaires that you can complete to make yourself known to a coach and that you're interested as well.
Yes, that'll be the starting place.
And how about for civil engineering or engineering majors?
Engineering, you can get a direct admission if you're doing really well in high school and they like to see biology, chemistry, physics, and calculus for direct admissions. However, not everybody has those taken already, or maybe they're not even offered fully in your high school. So there's still a path for you with an engineering interest. Take those courses at Iowa, get an A or B, and proceed into the engineering college.
That's awesome.
Again, our engineering's really unique. It's intentionally smaller at this big university. They get to work in teams, just like they will later in the workforce. And our students choose a focus area. So for example, a civil engineering might focus on architecture and be an expert in that area and get on to the Masters of Architecture next. So they come out as specialists, job ready, hireable, having that intentional focus.
That's excellent. And that's kind of relates to what I was speaking about earlier, that even if in a lot of US universities, even if you don't have the prerequisite, there's often still a pathway for you to get there. So that's really cool that you can still do that even if you didn't take those courses.
And I'm an example of that. I was pre-business, did the prerequisites, got into the College of Business.
Yeah, so I was going to say business. Tell us more about that. So do you have a direct entry into your college as well as another path?
Yes, the exact same way as engineering. High GPAs and test scores will get you a direct admit. If not, no problem. Pre-business is the path most students enter anyway.
That's awesome. And how about for students interested in environmental sciences?
I want to talk to that student for sure. We just collected a faculty video that gives so much detail about exactly some things they're doing within that department. We're collecting these from all of our departmental faculty to get a deeper look at the program so we can share that with students. And I have a contact in India, one of our alums, environmental scientist, and now he's living and working back in Pune and doing awesome things with a good organization. He has welcomed us to give his name for prospective students to talk to. So I'll connect you on a student-to-student level as well.
Very, very cool. Well, that was Danielle who mentioned environmental sciences. I can see she's still here in the room. So, so we are at time. Thank you so much, Becky, for your information. And she will be hanging around. So please, in the private chat, send your questions over, and Becky's going to hang around and answer those for you.
All right. Go Hawks. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and as we move through, we've got two more amazing universities coming up next. Our next institution is going to be the University of South Dakota. So we are hitting both the Dakotas today, and we are just waiting for our friend Patrick to join us from South Dakota. Do remember to, in the polls, make sure to say yes if you want more information, any follow-up from a university that you're excited to hear more about. I can see Patrick is trying to join us. And don't be shy in the chat to ask your questions. Surya is asking about computer science. So Surya, go ahead and ask that question directly to Becky in the chat function, in the private chat function. You can ask her about computer science, and then any other universities who are about to come up, you can ask them directly as well, but you can use the private chat to find out more. And Zane, the Division I dead period. So you're going to have to talk to coaches about dead periods. Oftentimes admissions officers are not as familiar, but it's different sport to sport. Zane, I think you said you were a lacrosse player. So for lacrosse, you'll need to ask the lacrosse. All right. So we've got Patrick Morrison here. And unfortunately, there we go.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that. Can you hear me? Everything good? Jenika, is the sound and okay, good. All right. Sorry, everything was set up and then it switched. But thank you. My name is Patrick Morrison, and I'm with the University of South Dakota. We are located in the upper Midwest of the U.S. So for those of you, familiar with Manitoba, Winnipeg, we're essentially 8 hours directly south of Winnipeg, right on the interstate. And so we do have a fair number of Canadian students. Most of them are student athletes. And so a lot of them are in that middle part of the country, but we're well connected to airports and things like that. So if you're from BC or Ontario or anywhere else, we certainly would welcome you here at USD. So you might not have heard of South Dakota or the University of South Dakota, so I want to introduce a little bit about the university. We are South Dakota's flagship university, meaning we're the main public university in the state of South Dakota. We're the oldest university in North and South Dakota, founded in 1862. We're fully accredited, so the entire university by Higher Learning Commission. Our business school is AACSB accredited, which puts us in the top 5% of schools offering business programs in the world. ABET accreditation for our computer science, and then other accreditations at departmental levels like in psychology, nursing, and the health sciences and things like that. We are a comprehensive liberal arts university, so we have everything from associates to PhD. I think most students on here are looking for bachelor's degrees, but if you are interested in graduate degrees, we do have around 70 graduate programs. Student population is about 10,000 students. from every US state in about 55 countries, including about 10 students from Canada. The unique thing about our international population is while it's on the small side of about 230 students, we have no country with more than 30 students. So a lot of universities in the US, they might have several thousand international students, but a vast majority of them are from, China or India or a few other countries. Ours is a pretty diverse population. In fact, our largest country represented is from Nepal, with about 28 students. So we do have quality academics, of course, that's we hope anyway. So we have about 200 undergraduate programs, and then as I mentioned, 70 graduate programs. So we have both long established programs like the arts and the sciences, but then also really cutting edge programs like business analytics, sustainability. These programs that that have really come up in the last 10 to 15 years based on demands from the field. And we're seeing out in industry that we'll have employers come to us and say, we're really not seeing students that have the analytical ability or really understanding complex data science in a business context. And so that's why we created our business analytics program at the graduate level and then operational analytics at the undergraduate level. We are, despite having 10,000 students, we still have that small classroom feel of about 1 in every 2 of our classes has less than 20 students in them. So you will really get to know your faculty. They'll know you on a first name basis. They're going to know your abilities, your strengths, your weaknesses, and really be there to help you succeed. And then also when you're looking at post-graduation options, if you're looking for references for graduate school or, somebody to be there to help you find a job after graduation, the faculty really embrace that role and are really going to be able to be a good advocate for you after graduation. And we do have a student to faculty ratio of 15:1. Which is more in line of kind of a smaller liberal arts school as opposed to a flagship university. We do have really good one-on-one faculty mentorship, as I discussed. A lot of our facilities have really undergone extensive renovation in the last 10 years. So pretty much every lab on campus for the sciences has really had a big investment to get those up to a high level. You can see our business school on the bottom of this slide. So that was built in the last 10 years. We have we are a research intensive institution. So if you're interested in the sciences, health sciences, those sorts of programs, and you really do want to get experience in research early on in your academic career, you certainly have opportunities to do that. And we have both formal programs through like paid opportunities over summer, as well as the informal opportunities that come just through getting to know your faculty through those small classroom settings. So we do have a vibrant campus culture. We're kind of that typical American college experience, like a lot of the other universities presenting here today. Like Iowa and Athens and a few other places, we are in a small college town, which I'll talk about later. So we have about 200 student organizations. We are Division I for athletics. So you can see our American football stadium there. Since there seems to be a lot of interest in athletics, I'll just state we have about 18 athletic teams. On the women's side, volleyball, track and field, swimming and diving, basketball, golf, tennis, and triathlon. And then on the men's side, American football, basketball, track and field, swimming and diving as well. And then I forgot in the cross country as well, and for both men and women, and then women have soccer. Brand new basketball and volleyball arena. Our American football stadium has recently had about a $35 million expansion. You can see we play in a dome. Brand new women's soccer field and brand new outdoor track and field facilities. And then of course indoor, where we play football here, that is going to be, we roll up the field and that's below that's an indoor track. So some unique things as far as in our conference, the Summit League, so the same conference as our friends in North Dakota. Last year we won the Commissioner's Cup, which is the best all-around athletic program in the conference. And our women, actually, our strongest sports are our women's sports, and we've won 4 years in a row the strongest women's conference, women's programs in the conference. So, for example, volleyball, we were 33-3 last year, or 32-3. Women's basketball was 30-2. And then we also have some of the best pole vaulters in the country, including some Olympic hopefuls and some national champions in pole vaulting. So obviously in our track and field team. And our triathletes are pretty much all from Canada. So if you're interested in triathlon or swimming and diving, those seem to be pretty Canadian intensive sports. And then, of course, just in general, the campus life. We have Greek life, a really robust fine arts program, popular clubs like International Club, service learning, student media opportunities. We have our own student-run TV station, radio station, newspaper. So really a lot of opportunities for you outside the classroom here at USD. Wellness and recreation, obviously pretty important. So we have a brand new wellness center with a 11.5 meter climbing wall, multiple indoor courts for basketball, volleyball, Olympic-sized swimming pool, indoor track. As you can see there, free weights and other weight machines, intramural sports, fitness classes. So these are all included in your student fees. And we're currently working, I think in 2022, we'll have a new aquatic center that will replace the existing one we see here. So yes, a lot of opportunities for you to stay fit and to engage in sort of some of those athletic things, even outside the organized Division I sports. So the town of Vermilion, we have about 10,000 people in the community, but the clear majority of the town are students. So we have the highest percentage of college students of any town in America. So definitely you can imagine, if anytime you have a group of a town and 75% are 18 to 24-year-olds, there's a lot of fun events that happen. We're well known as our student life and extracurricular activities off campus are really well known. We're in the niche rankings. We're in the top 100 for the best student life in America. Have a nice historic downtown with pubs and coffee shops and restaurants, and a lot of opportunities like along the Missouri River for hiking and biking and kayaking and things like that. But we're about an hour away from two cities of over 150,000 people. So, you still can get out there on the weekends and over breaks and things like that to go to larger cities and have some of that bigger feel if you want that opportunity. So most importantly, and the thing I really want to address is USD is the most affordable flagship university in the entire United States. So this is a list of every state's flagship university. You can see there with that red arrow, $12,800 per year. We're one of three schools under $20,000. And importantly, we have the smallest differential between what we charge South Dakota students and what we charge everyone else. So we don't charge double or some cases triple the tuition for international students than compared to what we charge our own residents. And we're pretty proud of that fact. So just to see kind of the overall cost here, about $23,000. That's inclusive for undergraduate, $24,500-ish for graduate students. So that's inclusive of your housing, your meals, your textbooks, health insurance, and obviously tuition and fees. We do have scholarships available for both graduate and undergraduate students that are merit-based. And of course, at the Division I level, if you are at that highest national kind of team good, that would obviously, most of our scholarships would cover your cost of attendance. And then just briefly, as far as application, you can see they're about 2.6 GPA. I put English proficiency, but obviously if you're from Canada, we basically are going to waive that requirement. We do not require ACT or SAT for admission, but we do for some scholarships. So given COVID, we're also considering those. We're waiving those requirements. And we are in the common application. So if you already have a common app profile, it'll be very easy to apply to USD. So if you think that USD might be a good fit for you, you can find us on social media, our website, and an email if you want to talk to an admissions officer. You feel free to message me in the private message about any questions you may have. And I think with that, I'm not sure if any questions came in. Not that I can see, but yeah, so feel free to get in touch. And if you have any questions about the university, I'm happy to answer them. And you can see the pop-up and that'll take you to our website. Thank you.
Information, Patrick, and actually worked with a triathlete, Tegan, who is at your school.
Oh yeah, sure.
We did a live call last year during International Education Week. She walked me around your indoor facility, and I was blown away.
Yeah, it's really proud of that, and it's been a long time coming. When I went to school here, everything was all in where we played football, and it was very weird to watch a volleyball game in this big cavernous space with bleachers. And so it's nice to now have a proper facility for that and others. So, and thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you. So if you have more questions about University of South Dakota, please contact Patrick in the private chat. Ask him about your major and opportunities in your field at USD. And we are now at our final institution for the evening. Thank you for those who are sticking with us. We're on Wayne State University in Detroit, Michigan. Wayne State is definitely the school that is closest to the border of any of the schools we have today. I think I probably could walk from campus right into Canada. So we're just waiting for our friends there from Wayne State to join us. So Jacqueline, if you would make your way on mic and camera, do make sure to say yes in the poll if you wanted to get just a follow-up email there from University of South Dakota. There she is.
Hi, Jenika. Can you hear me?
I can. I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to you, Jacqueline, from Wayne State University.
All right. Well, thank you, Jenika, and thank you so much to Education USA in Canada for giving us the chance to share a little bit about our school with you all today. Excuse me, as I'm quite certain we are the only border school in the group of universities today. So we are actually your friendly neighbors to the north because we actually drive south to get to Canada in Detroit. So today I'm just going to review, I know I don't have that much time, but today I'm just going to review some information about who we are and where we are, so you get a little bit more familiar with our institution, explain the admissions process and scholarships, and I will stick around as long as I possibly can to answer any questions that you might have. So as we've said, we are in Detroit. We are right across the Detroit River from you all in Ontario. Windsor, Ontario is the city directly across the border from us. From in Detroit, there is a tunnel and a bridge to get to Canada. And from the tunnel, our campus is about maybe a 5 to 10 minute drive. So Jenika, I do think you could walk. It would be a bit of a long walk, but you could walk to the border from here. And from the bridge, it's about maybe a 10 to 15 minute drive. Actually, we have many Canadian students who actually live in the Windsor area and commute to campus with a much shorter commute than most of our domestic students. We are a nationally ranked Research 1 institution, which in the US is an official designation indicating that we have the highest possible level of research going on our campus. We are a large public school. We have about 26,000 students, of which about 1,100 are international students, including many Canadians. That's actually our largest, our second largest, group of international students, with just over 300 this fall. So if you came to Wayne State, you would definitely have many fellow Canadians here with you. But other than Canada, we do have a very diverse group of international students from almost 80 countries. We are officially the most diverse student body in the state of Michigan, which I only point out because I think that reflects the city where we are. Detroit is the largest city in the state of Michigan and really a regional hub. And as a result of that is a diverse city. So our campus does reflect where we are, but that also is a really big part of our identity and something that we're quite proud of as an institution. So if you do come to Wayne State University, you will be in school with people like you, but also many people who are not like you. And that's something that we see really adds a rich layer to your education here at Wayne State, where we really do pride ourselves on giving students a practical education and, or as we like to say it, a real world education in the real world. Obviously, our academic programs are really at the core of everything that we do. As a large public school, we're also a comprehensive one. We have over 300 academic programs that are spread across 13 schools and colleges, which are simply how we organize our academic programs within the university. And where programs are is sometimes pretty obvious, like all of the business programs are within the Illich School of Business, all of the engineering programs are within the College of Engineering, but others might not be so obvious. So if I know Jenika, I was glad to see that you started the webinar today talking about how to choose your major. One benefit to going to a comprehensive university like Wayne State is that if you are one of the many students who begin their undergraduate career here as undecided or undeclared, you have a lot of things to explore. And so if you're looking to, a lot of students begin their university with some majors that they're interested to explore or something in mind, but there's a lot for you to explore here at Wayne State University. Our campus is in the heart of the city of Detroit, as we like to say, because we're almost exactly in the center of the city in the neighborhood that we call Midtown. It is the cultural center of the city, so there is a lot to do, and particularly a lot within walking distance of campus. We're very close to most of the major museums, concert halls, and also restaurants and shops that are in the city of Detroit. And I know I was pleased to see that the universities today are really quite diverse in where they are. So Wayne State is definitely an urban experience. So if you are looking to go to school in a big city and have access to all of the amenities that come with that, I think that if that environment is appealing to you, then Wayne State could definitely be a good fit. Speaking of which, we do have housing on our campus. We have 7 different residence halls that students can choose from that offer a pretty wide range of options. Everything from kind of a standard dormitory room all the way to your own apartment with your own kitchen and things like that. But everything that you need, if you live on campus, everything that you need is where you live. So I can say it is by far the most convenient option for students who are attending Wayne State to live on campus. And being a big school, for a lot of students, it's important to find a way to make that big school feel a little bit smaller. And one way that Wayne State students can build their own community on campus is getting involved. We have over 400 student organizations, which are what we call simply clubs, and ranging from everything from, different kinds of arts and music to different cultural organizations, religious organizations, and almost anything you can think of. If by the off chance we do not already have a student organization focused on something you're interested in, you have the power to start one as a student, which is kind of a nice benefit. I know there's been a lot of talk about athletics today. We are a Division II school, and so if that's the level of athletic competition you're looking for, that is what Wayne State is. And in addition to that, I would say, I'm from Detroit, so it's my hometown. I would say sports are also a really big part of the culture here. We have all of the major professional sports in the U.S. We have teams here, and also we just have, it's very common for students and frankly faculty and staff to play sports and watch sports. So in addition to kind of official varsity teams, we also have a pretty robust group of tournaments for intramural sports where students can simply join teams and play against each other for fun, to make friends, and to continue practicing the sport that you might have played in high school. So for admission, we do accept the common application, but Wayne State does have its own application as well, which you can find on our website that's listed here. We are looking for your official high school transcripts, so your official grades, as well as an SAT or ACT score if you have one. It's not required for admission, but I highly, highly recommend that you submit one if you have a score. If you do not submit an SAT or ACT score, there's some other materials that you have to submit with your application. For maximum scholarship consideration, I would encourage you to simply apply as soon as you can right now, and making an effort to apply before February 1st to make sure that you can be considered for funding. I don't know if there are any current students at universities or colleges in Canada on this call today, but if so, Wayne State is very friendly to transfer students. Almost half of our undergraduate students are actually transfer students. And we do have relationships with some colleges in Canada, mostly in Ontario, but we would accept transfer credit from an accredited college or university in Canada as well. So just keep in mind that that's an option for you too. And funding, obviously, everyone wants a scholarship. Who wouldn't? Any resident, because we are across the river from Ontario, we do have a special benefit for students in that province, which we call the Great Lakes Award. It's something you get automatically. There's nothing you have to submit additionally to your application. We just look for your address and to see that you are a resident, a permanent resident of Canada or a Canadian citizen. And with that, you receive this award, which is about half of what a typical out-of-state or international student would have to pay, which is a huge benefit. So keep that in mind. And on top of that, Canadian students are also eligible for merit-based scholarships. Again, if you can take an SAT or ACT, I would strongly encourage you to take it because that can also affect the level of scholarship that you could receive from Wayne State too. And also for residents of Ontario, if you receive any funding or loans through OSAP, we have staff in our admissions office and in our financial aid office to help you navigate that process too. So that's a very quick introduction to our school. Thank you for joining us today and for sticking with it. I was happy to close out the event today. Until it's safe for you to come visit us on campus, I encourage you to take a virtual tour, which of course is not the same, but it's kind of the next best thing. It can give you an idea for the look and feel for our campus. And please stay in touch. After today, you're welcome to email us. I or mostly actually my colleague Gabby answers emails that go to oip@wayne.edu. So our staff can help you individually if you have questions after today. And I know this may sound obvious, but you should feel free to follow us on social media as well. It's a very easy way to just see what's going on at Wayne State and give you a better idea of what it's like to actually be a Wayne State student. So you should feel free to follow us there. So thank you for taking the time to listen to my talk, and I'm happy to stick around to answer questions.
You expressed interest in health sciences earlier. So I would love to hear more about your health sciences track. And also I know a lot of Canadians do attend your medical school. So you could speak to if a student's interested in medical studies, if they should consider doing their undergraduate at their school or what that pathway can look like.
Yeah, of course. Wayne State's actually a very strong school in health sciences because we're a hub for medical treatment within our region in the U.S. And we have the largest single campus medical school in the United States. It's actually at Wayne State University. So as a result of that, our programs in medicine, nursing, and pharmacy and health sciences are all quite strong. And we have strong relationships with providers, mainly the large hospital systems in the city of Detroit and also in surrounding areas for students to train, and where many of our faculty are actually practicing in their field, whether it's nursing, pharmacy, or medicine. And you're right, we do have quite a few Canadians who attend our medical school, both in the MD track and also in other research-related fields. So that is something that's an option for you. As you know, I know, Jenika, but some students might not realize in the U.S., it's a completely separate application process to attend medical school that would take place during really your final year at university. It's extremely competitive, which is probably not a surprise to anyone, but just to keep that in mind, that attending, there are, of course, many students who attend Wayne State University and go on to attend the medical school. But just the level of competition at U.S. medical schools is I will say it's intense. Having said that, though, if you do attend Wayne State, it does give you, as an undergraduate student, particularly towards the end of your career at that level, there can be opportunities for you to maybe work with faculty that might be doing something with a medical school. Once the COVID situation changes in the city, there could be options for you to volunteer maybe within the health system and just maybe get a better idea of what being a Wayne State medical student would be like, and you would be more familiar with the kinds of opportunities that would be available to you.
Awesome. And I think it's always important to remember that. So the crux of the question was also that, like, there's no, if you go for undergrad, there's kind of no guaranteed pathway into the medical school there. But because of the medical school, there's a lot of opportunities for undergrads interested in pre-health.
Yeah. Well, and we find too, and it's interesting, it's particularly among Canadian students, actually, we have a lot of students who are interested in health sciences, but not necessarily to become a physician. We have many Canadian students who start at Wayne State as an undergraduate student and go on to the pharmacy program. Chances are it's probably a 50-50 chance in the city of Detroit that your pharmacist is actually Canadian. We have many Canadians who attend our school and live in Windsor and practice in Detroit. So, which is kind of normal for us, but probably unusual for other cities in the United States. But also same would be true for nursing, and some other. And I also think that's a good example too of a lot of high school students. If you're really interested in math and science, biology is really interesting to you, and you think, well, I can be a doctor, which of course is a fantastic career. We need doctors. So, but I think being at university can also kind of show you that there's a lot of other things within the medical field or within the health sciences space that could also take advantage of, if you tend to have those kinds of talents and a genuine interest for that area, there's other things you can do as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. We're at 5:15, so we'll go ahead and wrap up. But Jacqueline is going to hang around for some more time, just like everybody else. So if you have more questions for her, please send her some direct messages. I'll also stick around for a few minutes. So if you want to send me a direct message or something in the Q&A chat, you can. Thank you so much for all of our participants today and to our presenters for their amazing presentation. And I hope everybody has a lovely evening.
Thank you so much, Jenika. I'm happy to stick around.